Breaking news, Viking Nation. The first revelation is about to detonate inside Soldier Field. What just unfolded in Chicago wasn't just a game. It was pure Viking warfare written in the stars themselves. We've got 5 earth-shattering stories that will redefine everything you thought you knew about this franchise and shake the NFL to its very core. A comeback so impossible that even the football gods are still trying to process what they witnessed with their own eyes. A rookie quarterback who just rewrote NFL history with his bare hands and warrior spirit. Ancient Viking rituals revealed in the heat of battle that prepare modern warriors for conquest. Devastating injuries that struck our defense like lightning bolts from Thor himself. And the complete breakdown of how 24 minutes of pure magic changed the entire trajectory of this season and possibly this franchise forever. Each of these revelations will cut deeper than a Viking blade. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why Monday night wasn't just a win. It was a declaration of war against every team, every analyst, and every doubter who thought they could count out Viking Nation. The storm starts right now with the most impossible comeback in recent memory, and trust me, you're not ready for what's coming next. But hold on, as shocking as that is, the next update cuts even deeper. Picture this nightmare scenario that had every Vikings fan questioning their life choices. 17-6, fourth quarter, Monday Night Football, Soldier Field erupting in pure celebration. Every expert, every analyst, every single Bears fan in that stadium thought they were watching the Vikings season die a slow, painful death before it had even truly begun. The rookie quarterback had just thrown a catastrophic pick 6 that seemed to seal Minnesota's fate in the most humiliating way imaginable on national television. Ben Johnson's offense was carving up our defense like a Thanksgiving turkey. Our offense looked completely lost, confused, and utterly overmatched against the Bears' defense that was playing inspired football. Even the most loyal members of Viking Nation were starting to turn off their TVs, retreat to the safety of their purple caves, to lick their wounds and question everything. The national media was already preparing their Vikings collapse storylines for the morning shows. Fantasy football owners were dropping JJ McCarthy faster than a hot potato. Betting lines were shifting dramatically in favor of Chicago. This wasn't just looking like a regular loss, this was looking like a complete and total embarrassment on the biggest stage in football. The kind of humiliation that follows a franchise for years. But that's when something absolutely magical happened. Something so spectacular and unbelievable that it will be talked about in Minnesota sports folklore for generations upon generations of Vikings fans. What transpired in those final 15 minutes wasn't just a comeback, it was a complete transformation of reality itself. A quantum shift in the space-time continuum that defied every law of physics and probability that governs this beautiful game. The Minnesota Vikings scored 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, turning what looked like the most humiliating defeat in recent franchise history into one of the most spectacular victories ever witnessed on Monday Night Football in the modern era. This wasn't just about overcoming an 11-point deficit against a divisional rival in their own backyard. This was about watching a young team discover their championship DNA in the white-hot crucible of primetime pressure, with millions of people watching and judging their every single move. The first touchdown came when McCarthy found Justin Jefferson for 13 yards of pure poetry, a back shoulder fade that was impossible to defend. Then came the bomb to Aaron Jones for 27 yards that completely flipped the momentum and had Kevin O'Connell sprinting down the sideline like his hair was on fire. The final dagger was McCarthy himself, keeping the ball on a designed run and breaking multiple tackles to dive into the end zone for 14 yards of pure championship heart. If you believe the Vikings are destined for greatness more than you believe the Packers deserve any respect whatsoever, smash that subscribe button right now and show the entire NFL world that Viking Nation is completely done being overlooked and underestimated by everyone. Stay with me, because what comes next will flip the script in ways nobody predicted. Everyone saw the headlines about the comeback, everyone watched the rookie magic unfold on their screens. Everyone witnessed the impossible become reality in real time. But what they didn't see was the ancient Viking ritual that prepared JJ McCarthy for battle long before he ever stepped foot on that hallowed Soldier Field turf. This isn't just about normal football preparation or standard pre-game routines. This is about channeling the warrior spirit of his Norse ancestors through a mystical, almost supernatural pre-game routine that would make even the most superstitious athletes in professional sports completely jealous of his process. In the minutes before kickoff Monday night, while other players were going through their normal warm-up routines and stretching exercises, McCarthy was standing alone in front of a mirror in the Vikings locker room, methodically painting his face with eye black in a very specific, almost ritualistic pattern that has been perfected over years of practice. This wasn't random war paint applied for show or intimidation factor. This wasn't some social media stunt designed to go viral. This was legitimate war paint, applied with the precision and reverence of a Viking warrior preparing for the most important battle of his entire life. I kind of make this switch when game day happens, McCarthy revealed in an exclusive behind-the-scenes interview. That's when the war paint comes on. It's like I'm ready to die on that field, and I'm ready to do anything possible to get that win. It's not going to look pretty, and it's not going to look like someone just did my makeup for Halloween. This is legitimate war paint that transforms me into something different. But the mystical ritual goes much deeper than facial war paint and extends into realms that most quarterbacks never even consider. McCarthy's game day begins with an extended meditation session that would make Buddhist monks take detailed notes. He listens to something called 963 Hz audio tones, frequencies that are supposedly designed to connect you to higher consciousness and unlock your full potential as a human being. When he's not tapping into cosmic energy and universal vibrations, he's jamming to Bob Marley, with jamming being his go-to track for finding that perfect flow state where time slows down and everything becomes crystal clear. Here's where it gets really wild and enters science fiction territory. McCarthy uses something called a shift wave chair, a high-tech device that applies specific vibrations to put his body and mind into what he calls an internal flow state that allows him to perform at superhuman levels. This isn't some trendy Hollywood nonsense or celebrity fad. This is cutting-edge biofeedback technology developed by a former Discovery Channel host who was searching for ways to heal both physical and mental trauma through advanced vibrational therapy. The goal is to freely flow between activate and go and relax, recover, reset modes at will. Think about this for a second. While most quarterbacks are studying film and going through basic stretching routines, McCarthy is literally vibrating his way into an altered state of consciousness that prepares him for battle. Greg Holcomb, a Chicago area quarterback trainer who has worked with McCarthy since 7th grade, compared him to Kobe Bryant in terms of discipline and preparation, which is the highest praise possible for any athlete. Can you imagine being a Bears defensive back and looking across the line of scrimmage at a quarterback whose face is painted like a Viking warrior, whose mind has been prepared through ancient meditation techniques, and whose body has been calibrated through space-age technology? That's not just intimidating, that's absolutely terrifying and explains everything about what happened Monday night. But that's not the only fire burning inside this franchise. The next revelation is even more explosive. The victory celebrations were still echoing through the tunnels of Soldier Field when the harsh reality of NFL warfare came crashing down on Viking Nation like a thunderbolt from the gods themselves, while everyone was focused on JJ. McCarthy's historic performance and the impossible comeback that will be remembered forever. Two devastating injuries occurred that could fundamentally alter the trajectory of Minnesota's entire season and force major changes to the defensive game plan. This is the cruel irony of football that every fan learns to hate. Your greatest triumph can simultaneously become your greatest tragedy, and Monday night was the perfect example of how quickly fortunes can change in this violent, unforgiving sport that breaks hearts as often as it creates heroes. Blake Cashman, the defensive quarterback and emotional leader of the Vikings linebacker corps, suffered a hamstring injury while pursuing Caleb Williams in the backfield during the third quarter, and the injury looked serious from the moment it happened. For those who don't understand the magnitude of this potential loss, Cashman isn't just another linebacker filling a roster spot. He's the green dot helmet guy, the player who receives defensive calls from Brian Flores and communicates them to the entire defense with the precision of a military commander. He's the chess master who makes sure 11 players are working as one deadly unit capable of shutting down any offensive attack. In his first season with Minnesota in 2024, Cashman was an absolute monster who dominated every game. 112 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, and 8 passes defended in just 14 starts. Those aren't just good numbers. Those are game-changing, defense-defining numbers that explain why the Vikings were one of the most feared defensive units in the entire NFL last year. Kevin O'Connell confirmed the worst fears when he announced that Cashman will need an MRI to determine the severity of the injury, which could range from a minor strain to something much more serious. Given Cashman's injury history, he missed significant time with the Jets early in his career and missed 3 games last year with a turf toe injury. There's legitimate concern that this could sideline him for multiple weeks during the most crucial part of the season. The timing couldn't be worse, with the Vikings facing a quick turnaround for Sunday night's game against the Atlanta Falcons in what promises to be another test of their championship medal. Jeff Okudah, the Vikings' number 3 cornerback, took a vicious hit to the head on the final play of the game and had to be carted off the field in a scene that was absolutely terrifying to watch. The visual was haunting. Okudah was down on the turf, completely motionless, while medical staff rushed to his aid with the urgency that every football fan dreads seeing. He's been evaluated for a concussion, which in today's NFL means automatic entry into the league's concussion protocol, a process that can take days or weeks depending on the severity of the symptoms and brain trauma. Okudah's injury creates a serious depth problem at cornerback, where the Vikings are already thin behind starters Byron Murphy Jr. and Isaiah Rodgers. The secondary could be in serious trouble if multiple players are missing time simultaneously. Here's what makes these injuries even more devastating. They happen during what should have been the most joyful moment in recent Vikings history. Instead of focusing purely on Joel McCarthy's brilliance and the team's championship potential, Viking Nation now has to hold its breath and pray that 2 key defensive players can recover quickly enough to help this team reach its full potential. The NFL is ruthless in its timing, and Minnesota's upcoming schedule doesn't provide any easy opponents where they can afford to be shorthanded on defense. If both Cashman and Okudah miss significant time, it could expose the very defensive weaknesses that opponents will look to exploit throughout the entire season. And listen closely, the next 72 hours might be the most decisive in this franchise's history. Stay tuned. When the final whistle blew at Soldier Field and the impossible had become undeniable reality, what we witnessed wasn't just a football game, it was the explosive birth of a completely new era in Minnesota Vikings history that will be remembered and celebrated for decades to come. McCarthy didn't just win a game. He rewrote the entire narrative of what this franchise can accomplish when their backs are pressed against the wall and the entire world is counting them out like yesterday's newspaper. Let's break down the pure poetry and artistry of what transpired during the most incredible fourth quarter comeback in recent Monday Night Football history. The game started with promise but quickly turned into a nightmare scenario that had Vikings fans questioning everything they believed about this team. Chicago struck first when Caleb Williams found the end zone on a rushing touchdown that had Bears fans believing this was going to be their night to celebrate. The Vikings could only manage field goals while watching Williams complete his first 10 passes and look like the quarterback everyone thought he could become. Then came the moment that seemed to seal Minnesota's fate. McCarthy's devastating pick six to Nashon Wright that was returned 74 yards for a touchdown, giving Chicago a commanding 17-6 lead that felt insurmountable given how poorly the Vikings offense was playing. The ESPN broadcast showed dejected Vikings fans heading for the exits. The national media was already crafting their rookie quarterback overwhelmed narratives. Even Kevin O'Connell looked like he was questioning every decision that had led to this moment of pure frustration and humiliation. But champions are defined not by how they play when everything is going right, but by how they respond when everything is falling apart and the world is watching them fail. McCarthy's response was to channel every ounce of his Viking DNA and deliver the most clutch performance by a rookie quarterback in Monday Night Football history. The comeback began with a surgical 13-yard touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson, that reminded everyone why this quarterback-receiver combination was supposed to be completely unstoppable. The throw was perfect precision, the right was run to perfection, and Jefferson's celebration was pure raw emotion as he realized his young quarterback had just proven he belongs on this massive stage. But that was just the beginning of the magic show that was about to unfold before our very eyes. The real statement came when McCarthy hit Aaron Jones Sr. for a 27-yard touchdown bomb that completely flipped the momentum and had Kevin O'Connell sprinting down the sideline like his hair was literally on fire. The pass was pure perfection under pressure. McCarthy stepped up in the pocket with ice water in his veins, avoided the charging rush, and delivered a strike that dropped perfectly into Jones's hands in the corner of the end zone like it was guided by divine intervention itself. The final dagger was pure artistry and poetry in motion that will be replayed forever. On 3rd and 1 from the Bears' 14-yard line, with the entire stadium holding his breath and the weight of the world on his shoulders, McCarthy kept the ball on a designed run and broke multiple tackles like they were made of tissue paper to dive into the end zone for a 14-yard touchdown that put the Vikings up by 10 points with just 3 minutes remaining. The visual of McCarthy carrying the ball across the goal line while Bears defenders desperately tried to drag him down will be seared into the memory of every single Vikings fan for the rest of their natural lives. This is exactly what championship moments look like when destiny meets preparation. This is precisely what franchise-defining performances look like when a young quarterback refuses to accept defeat. McCarthy finished the night with 143 yards on 13 of 20 passing, 3 total touchdowns, and most importantly, his first NFL victory achieved in the most dramatic and spectacular fashion possible that will be talked about for years. If you believe that McCarthy is the real deal and that this comeback was just a small preview of the championship magic that's coming this season, smash that like button and let the entire NFL world know that Viking Nation has finally found their franchise quarterback. And if you think the Bears and Packers are about to learn what it means to be on the wrong side of a rivalry that's about to get very lopsided and very ugly, hit that subscribe button and join the movement that's about to take over the entire NFC North and establish Minnesota as the undisputed kings of the North. Because if this week felt like a massive earthquake that shook the foundations of the NFL, what's coming next could be the aftershock that completely topples the whole division. The war has officially begun, and JJ McCarthy just fired the first shot that will be heard around the entire NFL and remembered in Vikings lore forever.